The 450th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Bet365. Bet365 is offering new users a $1,000 risk-free bet. Sign up today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN for 50% off your first month. Start making smarter bets today. And we're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Use promo code CFBX for 20% off your first purchase. And in honor of Veterans Day, everything in our merch store is 10% off with promo code VETS. That's VETS. All proceeds from this sale will be donated to Mission 22, which is a nonprofit serving those who've served.
Howdy ho, degenerinos, and welcome to episode 450 of the MMA Gambling Podcast and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. This episode is going out to Captain. Not only did he get to go to UFC 295 last night in the world's most famous arena, but he also made some money on his picks. Hopefully he was tailing us. So this goes out to Captain, one of our friends in the Discord. Make sure you get in the Discord if you're not already. I am one of your hosts, Jeff Chalks Fox. Should have been chalkier last night. Of course, the night everything goes to chalk, I decide I'm going to be a dog man. So anyhow, it was one of those events where I thought I did worse than I did. And then when I tallied everything up, I ended up doing okay. Winners for sure were people who watched the event. It was quite an exciting event. And that would include my only co-host here. Not only did he have a good betting night, but it was a fun night of fights. I'll be the one and only Daniel Gumby Vreeland. Hello.
I think probably the reason your numbers felt better after the fact, because even when you were like, usually if you hit, 70 or 80% and it's all chalk and you're like, oh, I'm probably coming out on the bottom here. They're usually not such close lines. Because I think here, even our favorites that were winning, Castaneda was negative 115 by the time that fight actually happened. Which is incredible. Like his number just kept getting better and better and better as the fight rolled around. So like, I think having close favorites certainly helped. And there was one underdog who won? Am I right about that? Two underdogs.
I had Jessica Andrade won for me. That was a big hit.
Jessica Andrade and Lopes are the only ones who hit, I think, on the whole event, right?
Yeah. It was a bad night for the dogs. And like I said, of course, I had to have a whole bunch of dogs, but ended up okay. I went 7-5, pretty much broke even on my $100 in every fight thing. You made money on that, which is almost impossible to do. You went 8-4, up $62, which is especially hard considering like you hit a even money dog. That was it. The rest were all favorites.
Yeah, and like I said, just like really close lines. And I will say, like those lines that we had on, because obviously we locked these in on Wednesday for our prices. Like the lines we had on Wednesday actually were a touch worse than they were come fight night, because fight night, the lines just got closer and closer on almost every single fight.
Yep. Wacky stuff, but a fun night of fights. We should probably just jump right into it. It was last night, Madison Square Garden. It was November the 11th. UFC 295, Prochazka versus Pereira. Did you see attendance or gate numbers? Did they release any of that, Gumby?
I haven't seen any of it yet. But to be fair, that's not necessarily the first thing I look for on Sunday morning.
No, it's true. It's not your money. I don't see. Usually they announce these things at after the event, but they did not. So anyhow, we don't care. It wasn't actually Captain was there. So at least one person was there. And I think his friend was with him. So two people were there at the very least. We had a lot of weight misses or a couple weight misses since we recorded our episode. We'll go through all that too when we get to it. We'll start with the main event, shall we? Alex Pereira, did not have him picked, but he TKO'd with elbows Yuri Prochazka, 408 into the second round. Like I said, we had Prochazka at plus 110, but it was a tough fight to call either way. Of course, there's controversy. People are saying it was an early stoppage. Thoughts on that? Thoughts on the fight? Go ahead.
So definitely not an early stoppage. At first, watched it, and my comment even in the Discord was it was an early stoppage. Guess who said it wasn't? Yuri Prochazka. So if Yuri Prochazka doesn't think it's an early stoppage, then it's not an early stoppage, right? He said he was out. He said he was unconscious. His body was just defending himself blindly, which is maybe what more fighters should say about situations like this. Is like, rather than make up an excuse that's not going to get you anywhere anyway, might as well just say the truth. And that's kind of the beauty of the honor that is Yuri Prochazka. It was interesting to see how it happened because, you know, we knew the pressure of Yuri Prochazka was going to be a piece of this. We knew, you know, him being super awkward was going to be a piece of this, and it seemed to work. I mean, he won the first round. It seemed to work for the first round, but I guess maybe just the defensive striking of Alex Pereira, is that maybe the spot that we underrated the most, because he does move his head well enough that it didn't seem like anything Yuri could throw would land flush.
Yeah, it was interesting fight. It would be a fight I would want to see a bunch more times, but because it very well could have gone either way. Guys are pretty evenly matched up. Interesting to see Pereira not tower over an opponent like he usually does, because he definitely was the smaller man in the fight. But yeah, he's putting more, adding more to his game, or maybe he had more to his game to begin with. RE, the defensive grappling and striking and whatnot, like you were speaking of.
Yeah, and I think too, you know, like that's probably something he knows he needs up in this weight class, where he's not going to have just like a massive size advantage. So it's clear he's been working on it. He looked really good doing it. Also worth mentioning too, this was my prop of the night, was over a round and a half, and just barely squeaked that one in by little bit there, about a minute and a half. We got in there. So I think it was -150 on Wednesday or on Thursday when we recorded. And yeah, like a little bit of feeling out process. And to your point, I would love to see this wind up happening again, not immediately. Book Yuri with, you know, one of the people he's inevitably going to murder down in a weight class. And then, I mean, I think we've got to be headed to Pereira versus Jamal Hill, right? Like that's the next thing.
Yeah, I know he called out Adesanya, but no, we don't need Adesanya coming up to light heavyweight again. So
it would sell tickets though.
No, let him run through Jamal Hill, and then we'll see where we stand at that point, right?
I'd like to see. This is a completely. There's no way the UFC does this, but do you know what would be kind of fun? Let's run Jamal Hill versus Alex Pereira for the title. And on that same card, let's do a co-main with Yuri and Izzy at light heavyweight. Let those two duke it out. Because, like, do you want to see Izzy go back and fight Sean Strickland again? Because I don't really care. It wasn't fun to watch. And, like, if he does correct it, then, like, oh, cool. This is the guy we thought was a -400 favorite the first time, and he actually is. So, like, I don't really care to see that. They've already got a middleweight title booked. I know Izzy said he wants some time away, but I bet you he's going to get that itch in like 2 months, and we're going to see him in there again.
Fighters taking time away is very similar to fighters retiring. It doesn't tend to stick very long. So that was the main event. This was I should have mentioned this off the top. Every fight on the pay-per-view portion of this card were knockouts, and this was the longest fight. This fight lasted 9 minutes? 9 minutes and 8 seconds. So we had some quick ones, including the co-main event. I was wrong. Gumby was right. Tom Aspinall defeated Sergey Pavlovich. I'm not sure if Gumby predicted knockout via punches on the feet, but that's what happened. 109 into the first round after Pavlovich opened Aspinall's eyes with his power. Aspinall brought it right back to him and got the interim. We'll talk about this in a second, sure, but we'll see how long the interim tag sticks on this. But Gumby had Aspinall -125. Nice pick.
Yeah, I said I thought Aspinall was going to get that wrestling going and bring this to the ground. But I mean, like, maybe what we saw in Tom Aspinall's last fight, where we're like, damn, he looks fast, is like maybe even more important than we talked about then, you know, because we talked about how fast he's looked in his last couple of fights. it's not in sacrifice of power either. Like his speed comes with the power. And it makes him a really tricky out for anybody, especially when, like I said, I think Pavlovich was at least thinking about wrestling possibly coming his way and worried a little bit about wrestling coming his way. And maybe that opened things up. But the bottom line is dude, like Tom Aspinall is a problem. I think he is I mean, he's definitely right now the best heavyweight in the world. I think he'd beat John Jones. I don't think John Jones will ever fight him.
No, John Jones probably won't come back unless it would be so dumb if they did Jones Stipe. Well, Jones Stipe for the real quote unquote real belt, and then have Aspinall defend the interim belt. But I wouldn't put it past him doing something dumb like that.
It sounds like they will make him defend the interim belt, which like we all know it's the real one now, so who cares? Yeah. But like if you did him versus Jelton right now, man, that is the most intriguing heavyweight fight you could do right now, right? Jelton versus Tom Aspinall.
It's like two different weight classes. Kind of like how lightweight was, I guess. Lightweight's kind of mixing back up again, but yeah, there's a old name fighter division, and then there's actually the fighters that are good still division. So, all right. One thing that is good is our vets merch sale that we have going on right now at SGPN in honor of Veterans Day. Everything in the merch store is 10% off with the promo code VETS, VETS. All proceeds from the sale will be donated to Mission 22, a nonprofit serving those who have served. So support a great cause and score some sweet gear. Store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com, promo code VETS. And we're brought to you by Bet365. Bet365 is the world's favorite sportsbook, trusted by over 88 million players worldwide. Prop sides, totals, live betting. Bet365 has you covered. And if you like boosts, you're going to love Bet365, like a 30% profit boost on your NFL same game parlay. Plus, they even have an early payout offer if your team goes up 17 points. Sign up today and choose from two bonus offers, either a $1,000 first bet safety net or bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. Just head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bet365. Problem gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And finally, for this part, we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. NFL, NBA, NHL, college basketball, and college football, as well as MMA. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel, you shall see they have MMA as well. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. Gumby, do you have an underdog pick and play for us? Any sport?
Yes. Yeah, this will probably come out before Sunday Night Football. I like Jacoby Meyer higher than on his receiving yards. I think the Jets, with the exception of Sauce Gardner, are pretty terrible, and he'll make a bunch of catches today.
Fantastic. I just moved him into my fantasy lineup for today, so I should keep him in there, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm feeling Jacoby Meyer today.
Okay. Watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. And when you sign up with a promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit of up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN. All right. Moving along, women's strawweight, Jessica Andrade, not shot. Was afraid she was, and Gumby was sure that she was. Took care of Mackenzie Dern with punches, 3:15 into the second round. Dern, as I was saying in the Discord, that was her 12th UFC fight, her 17th fight overall. Still can't wrestle. Kind of can strike. No strike defense at all. And Andrade ate her up. That was that was the biggest underdog of the evening. And surprise, Jeff Chalks had it plus 162.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I heard she fired Jason Perillo. I don't know the story behind firing Jason Perillo, or at least just moved on from working with him. She seemed to be getting so much better with the hands, right? Like it seemed like the last couple of times we saw her, there was a jab, and she was throwing a jab a little bit last night, but it just seemed less effective. Maybe it's fighting Jessica Andrade, maybe it's not. But like the fact that she stopped working with one of the most well-renowned striking coaches in MMA, and all of a sudden, like, her striking looks a little bit worse, it seems like a really terrible idea. This is kind of the feeling we've had for her, though, right? And maybe I was silly for thinking she was about to break through that ceiling, but she just, unless she develops the rest of her game more, more completely, she's just going to be like the 8th ranked strawweight at all time. And that's kind of where I see her right now.
Jessica Andrade at this point should not be a ceiling to break through. That's the problem.
She's
probably,
but the thing is, yeah, but the thing is for Andrade, and I know we were talking about her being shot, and I was one of the ones who said she was shot. She's clearly not as shot as I thought she was. She's still, if we're looking at those recent losses, she's still losing to only top 5 opponents, right? The losses were to Erin Blanchfield up a weight class, who might be the champ pretty soon. Yan Xiaonan, who everybody was clamoring to get a title shot that she never got, and Tatiana Suarez, who people again are talking about a title shot. So like she's losing the top 5 opponents. Andrade is, despite having not won very often recently, still is a top 5 woman in maybe both of those divisions. So like, yeah, it's still a ceiling for somebody like I said, unfortunately, Mackenzie Dern, who's probably the 8th ranked strawweight for the end of time.
I think what we have learned is Mackenzie Dern will break your heart, boys, if you give her a chance to, right? So be careful. Be careful with Mackenzie Dern. She will burn you. But yeah, there's always something weird going on with her fight camps and everything. Yeah, at least she's not missing weight anymore. That's the one positive I can say about Mackenzie Dern. Maybe fight 18? Maybe by the time she hits her 20th fight, she'll realize she should tuck her chin. Isn't that the first thing they teach you?
I mean, if she was working with Perillo, I'd have more faith that she'll know that.
We'll see. Gumby's lips are moving, but I don't hear a thing, which is fun. So I assume you're agreeing with me. There you go. I heard you laugh. All right, let's move on. Shall we? Our boy, this guy doesn't break our hearts. I put it out there. I probably shouldn't have. I put out some bad karma. Ask you if Benoit Saint-Denis was going to break our heart at some point, but definitely not yet. Boy, oh boy. He head kicked, knocked out Matt Frevola, 131 in the first round. I picked him to win via submission, sadly. I realized after I said it, I meant to say I thought he was I was picturing him TKOing him. Obviously, I'm not going to go back on my pick now, but I was picturing a TKO, but I said submission and I stuck by submission, but I don't really care. I like Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm glad he got himself another win and another finish, -225. He was one of the biggest favorites of the night.
Yeah, and he looked amazing because the other thing was he wound up on his back for like a split second, and then he swept Matt Frevola as if Matt Frevola had never spent a minute on the mat before. Like he swept him like he was barely there. And he tried like a shoulder pin sweep first, and Frevola just did the very simple thing to prevent the shoulder pin sweep. He pulled his elbow out, but then he just moved to a completely different sweep, put an elevator hook in and flipped him over. And it was like, man, the ability to do that to a guy like Matt Frevola on the mat is incredible. And then when he gets to the feet, I mean, he started striking too and beat him up on the feet. So it seems like Benoit Saint-Denis, who at first we were talking about being like a good wrestle grappler, kind of like we thought, kind of like Matthews Gamrot is kind of where I had Benoit Saint-Denis before. It now is becoming more and more apparent that like his striking skills hang with a bunch of people in this division too. Like I think I said this on Thursday, I would pick him to be Matthews Gamrot right now. And that's a guy who weighed in to be a replacement for a title fight. I think he'd beat a lot of the guys in the top 10. I think he'd challenge a lot of the guys in the top 5 right now. So yeah, sky's the limit for this dude. He is looking better and better every time we see him.
I want to see him fight Islam. That's what I was thinking last night. Maybe he's not ready for it quite yet, but
yeah, I think going from Frevola to Islam is maybe a big step. Like I said, yeah. I keep saying the name Gamrot, but it's mostly just because I know Gamrot's wrestling and his wrestling would probably cancel out, and I think he'd blast Gamrot on the feet. But like you could give him anybody in that range too. The Fizievs of the world are fine for him to fight. RDA, should he want to keep fighting, like anybody like that in that range of the top 15, give him that guy, let him smoke whoever he's going to smoke and wind up fighting the, like these, Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira types, because he's probably a fight or two away from that.
He is not going to be 28 until middle of December. So
that's incredible. He looks way older with that beard too.
Exactly. That's why I probably should shave. This man does not look old yet. The Brazilian Brian Wilson came through for Gumby in the opener of the main card. Diego Lopez knocked out Pat Sabatini, and boy, did he ever knock him out. 130 into the first round. This is another guy with his grappling, kind of like Saint-Denis with his grappling chops. If he's going to start knocking fools out too, like the crazy power that he has. Wow. Is plus 100 Gumby had Lopez at.
I think this is a really great case for people getting their prospect losses out of the way when they're on the regional scene. Because this is a dude who put in so much time on the regional scene. People had been talking about this guy making the UFC forever. He was in Kambache, he was in Lux, he was bouncing all around the place. And I think he learned a ton of lessons, and now he can fight guys like Movsar Evloev and Pat Sabatini. And in his first 3 fights, he fought those 2 guys, and he's 2-1 right now. That's incredible. And he easily dispatched Pat Sabatini. This is, I picked him to win. I'm not going to take credit for thinking it would look like that. I thought Sabatini would wrestle him and eventually leave his arm behind or something and get caught. I never imagined Diego Lopes would just absolutely run through him like he did.
He ran through him for sure. So we ran through the main card. Speaking of running through, I went 2-3. Gumby went 3-2. Let's go to the prelims quickly here. Main event of the prelims, Steven Ercik. Look, it was a pretty decent fight. Ercik versus Alessandro Costa. Ercik came through 29-28 across the board. Good test for Ercik. Tough fight for him. Costa was way more game maybe than we expected he was going to be. But Ercik ended up taking care of business.
Yeah, I love the clinical nature of Ercik, despite the fact that DC and Joe Rogan seem to hate it. Did you listened with the commentary off? God bless you.
Yeah, I did. No, I heard it this time.
Okay. So they kept being like, he needs to sit down and throw harder on his punches. No, he doesn't. He's winning a technical boxing match, and when it turns into a slugfest, he's losing. Right? He lost the second round to Costa because Costa, let go of bombs and he got into a firefight. Don't get into a firefight if you're not a big power puncher. So yeah, I liked the fact that he was sticking and moving. I think we laid out on Wednesday that the odds on this fight wound up being close, and it wound up being your lock. The odds on this one wound up being close because people thought Ercik needs to grapple, and he just proved he does it here. So, still a top 10 flyweight. Looking forward to seeing him again.
Yep. Wild. Not wild. A good performance. A good gutsy, gut it out performance for Ercik. So yeah, interested to see him going forward. And I'm also interested always to go on Game Time and check out what kind of tickets they have last minute. You probably could have got tickets last night for UFC 295. Because Game Time has tickets for everything, because Game Time is the place for last minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more, aka MMA. Game Time guarantee means you always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And a place that will help you win some money to buy any tickets to anywhere you want would be Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea in a Hall of Fame Bets revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Start all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, next fight. This was a fun one. Women's strawweights. Lupe Godinez versus Tabitha Ricci. Gumby and I were on the opposite sides of this one. I came through. Split decision. Should not have been a split decision, but anyhow, someone had Tabitha Ricci winning every round, and then the other two judges rightfully had Lupe Godinez winning 2 of the 3 rounds. Went the way I hoped and thought it would. Godinez too physically strong for Ricci to get her wrestling going, and Godinez's striking is getting kind of sneaky good here. She rocked Ricci a few times on the feet. I had Lupe at -170.
Yeah, I thought there was an argument that like in a, and I think we were saying it in the Discord. I think there was an argument, a very bad one, but an argument to be made that you could give Ricci 2 rounds, like you could give her the second and the third. And I think every judge gave her the second. So I was like, maybe the judges will give her the second and the third, and we'll get like a bad judges scorecards here, and I'll sneak one out. Because I was pulling for Ricci, but all three is just a wild scorecard. I don't know how that guy came up with that scorecard. He's also the guy who didn't give Nazim Sadikov a 10-8, which we'll talk about in a second too.
Yeah.
But to your point, yeah, like Lupi Godinez, I thought this fight was going to be decided by the wrestling, and it was mostly just decided by the anti-wrestling, right? Is Lupi Godinez stuffing the takedowns and letting her hands go. And I thought Ricci would have some success with the grappling. I thought she'd maybe have more success with the hands. She did drop Loopy once or maybe twice, and I thought she was going to be able to do that more frequently. But really, the volume of Loopy Godinez and just the moving in and out really quickly, putting combinations together. She looked really great on the feet.
Yep. Ever since she got out of Canada, she's been on a roll. She actually was on a roll before that. That's 4 straight wins for her. This is probably her. Yeah, looking through her record, this is her biggest win in the UFC. So she is definitely improving for sure. So interested in seeing both women going forward because they both, I think, have futures in this sport. Catchweight fight was next. Roosevelt Roberts missed weight, 158 pounds. Can't really yell shaming him too much because he took this fight a couple of days before it actually happened. Matthias Rebetsky ran through him, or Matesh. There was a lot of interesting pronunciations of names, so we'll get to more of that in a second. But Rebetsky went through armbar submission, 308 into the first round. We had him at -600. Probably not much to say about this fight, right?
No. I'll just give an excuse for Roosevelt Roberts because when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, he was already talking about how 55 was hard to make. So the fact that he made it this close shows he was really doing work. So props to him for giving it a try because some people don't even try.
Yes. And then in the opener, Nazim Sadikov. Who did he fight, Dan? How do you say this man's name? Because they were talking.
Did she say? Did they say Slava Borshu?
they were saying Vyacheslav Barshow, like Barshow,
like Dalton Varsho, like Dalton Varsho.
Yeah, like yes, Barshow, like Darshow. Is it not Borshev? It's
Borshev. And here's the weird thing is that Bruce Buffer also didn't say that. And don't get me wrong, I'm never like going to bat for Bruce Buffer in his solid pronunciation game because that's Joe Martinez is the solid pronunciation guy. But I can't imagine Borshow is correct.
No.
I have to imagine John Anik maybe asked him and he didn't hear him correctly. But that was a wild one because like nobody else says that. So I mean, like maybe this is what we're gonna start calling him. Maybe this is like the Jandy Doba problem again.
Yes.
Virna Jandy Doba.
Anyhow, it was a majority draw, 28-29, which is the wrong scorecard. 28-28 is the correct scorecard. Borshev won round 1, almost got killed in round 2, and then won round 3. Correct?
I actually don't mind the 10-9 second. I think
okay.
I think I'm after rewatching it. I think I'm team 10-8. I think this draw was not only defensible but probably the correct call. I just think he possibly did enough offensively in the beginning of that round and really at the end of that round trying to work his way out because he was the one landing the last 2 or 3 punches that you could argue maybe he made it close enough that you have to give him a little bit of credit and maybe the duration and the dominance and the damage, which he had all of them. But like, was the dominance not enough there because of the fact that he battled back? You could make that argument, but nevertheless, super exciting fight. My point stands about Sadikov's wrestling. I made it on Wednesday. It's not good. He scored a couple of takedowns, but didn't have any control. Like the fact that Slava just stands up every time you take him down is a really bad sign for how good your wrestling is. But maybe the part that I missed the most here is Sadikov actually is maybe a little bit more dangerous on the feet than I've been giving him credit for.
Yep, for sure. For sure. So this one ended up a draw, like I said. It was a fight of the night for the boys. So they might not have gotten their win bonus, but they got more via the end of night bonuses. So I went 2-1-1 on the prelims. No, sorry, I went 3-0-1 on the prelims. Gummy went 2-1-1 on the regular prelims. Now the really prelims. Jared Gordon did what we hoped he would do. TKO. We didn't think he was going to standing knockout kind of in the clinch Mark Madsen, but that's what he did. TKO, elbow, and punches. 442 into the first round. Didn't let Madsen get going with his grappling too much, and we knew he's going to be Gordon was going to be too good on the feet for him to handle.
Speaking of bad name pronunciations, did you catch that they were calling him O'Madsen every single time?
Oh, no way!
As if he was Irish. Yeah.
Yes.
O'Madsen's really moving well here. O'Madsen with a nice uppercut, and it's like
it's not hard.
It's a make-believe middle name he's got, right? Because that's Olympian.
Yes,
the
Olympian.
O stands for Olympian, yeah, which is just a wild move. But to your point about the actual fight, like incredible power generated in a very short distance by Jared Gordon. I really liked it. Also, did you catch the part where he asked for a top 15 opponent after the fight because he's won 4 in a row?
No, I didn't hear that.
Which also give a quick little peek to his record if you want. He hasn't won 4 in a row. No. In fact, he has 2 wins in his last 4 fights. But he apparently is counting the Bobby Green headbutt and the Patty Pimblett bad decision. So he likes revisionist history like me.
Yeah, like someone else that was in the crowd last night as well. So I think he was maybe feeling that vibe. All right, the next fight was a catchweight. It was a catchweight fight decided beforehand, but we weren't told about it, right?
I think it was decided after we recorded on Wednesday, but well before the weigh-ins.
Okay, it was 138 pounds. John Castaneda, Gumby had him. I had Kyung Ho. They were calling him Kong, but who knows with them? It could be Kang. Usually you can trust John Anik, but not anymore. He got infected by those other 2 guys sitting with him. It was 30-27 across the board for Castaneda. Bad pick for Jeff. Bad boy.
And my lock of the week. My lock of the week. And I will say he did not fight like I wanted him to. No. I mean, like, why that patient? Why no takedowns? I mean, I guess he was winning on the feet is the argument, right? Like, if he's winning on the feet, why not keep doing it? But he wasn't winning by much. Like, this is a fight that was a lot closer than the 30-27 scorecards. Because he got hit with some real tough straight rights from Kyung Ho Kang. So, like, I think he needs to, while he's clearly hired a new striking coach and he's confident in what's going on, he needs to get back to what he does best, which is wrestle.
Yeppery apparently is the word now. Flyweights, Joshua Van. We weren't in on him. We should have. You interviewed him, Gumby, and it was the reverse jinx going on. He took care of Kevin Boryas. This was a good fight as well. Our boy Kevin had 1 round of gas in his tank, though, sadly, and he lost 29-28. Looked really good round 1, and then that ended.
Yeah, I think he's got more than 1 round of gas. I think the body shots did him in far more than anybody has been giving him credit for. Because Van really put together a really like clinical striking concept, and Boryas won the first. So like he's clearly, both of these guys super game flyweights and being super young, like, lots of future for both of them down the road. And that's 2-0 for Van too already at like 22 years old.
Yeah, hopefully the UFC keeps both these guys around for a while and lets them grow into the sport. And then the opener was a catchweight fight. Jamal Emmers missed weight, but he bucked the trend of people missing weight, losing. He came through and won for us. Jamal Emmers took care of Dennis Bazooka. TKO punches 49 seconds into the first round. This got the night rolling nice for us. -250. We had Emmers.
And another pick I got right, and he did not fight the way that I thought he was going to, right? Like I thought he'd get the wrestling going because he does have a good wrestling game, and Bazooka, I think, is pretty terrible in that. Bazooka's not good, right? Am I wrong about this? Like he was very lackluster on Contender Series and it has now kind of gotten run over twice in the UFC. I don't know what he's doing, like why the UFC likes this guy, unless it's just like a Ray Longo thing. Because like he's not able to strike with people like Jamal Emmers, who that's not even primarily what he's best at. So I'm not quite sure what the future is here for Bazookia. He's probably going to get one more at least, though, right?
You think so? 0-2 now? Maybe. Usually we like to fire people, but we didn't. We'll let him live another fight. So that was the main card. Like I said, Gumby made $62. I lost 64. Maybe I didn't say that off the top. 7-5 for me, 8-4 for Gumby. Overall on the year, I'm at 60%. He's at 57% for the hit rate, but for the amount of money lost, you're at minus 4.5% return on investment. I'm at minus 5.3. So you strengthened your lead a little bit there. Our fancy plays, we both hit our locks, which was Castaneda and Ursig. Gumby missed on Ricci as a dog. I had Borshev as a dog. That would end up being a push. Gumby had the main event over 1.5 rounds. He snuck that one in, minus 140. I had BSD via submission, plus 300. That didn't hit. That was the half of the Superfan Jong, Hungryman Jong Superfan parlay that didn't hit. We had Emmers inside the distance, did hit. So close, got close. As for the fighters, Barsho, Sadikov, one fight of the night. And the performance of the night's Alex Pereira, Tom Aspinall, Jessica Andrade, Benoit Saint-Denis, Diego Lopez. So the full full main card got bonuses, which is nice to see. And I do have attendance in gate now. Attendance, 19,039 people. We're in attendance, 12.4 million in gate. So they can afford to give out some $50,000 bonuses here and there, right?
Yeah, that's a big gate.
We got another UFC coming up this weekend, and then you people down there have Thanksgiving after that, right? So we're going to take a week off. This would be UFC Fight Night. Allen versus Craig. I think we're back to the UFC Apex as per usual. Yes, we are. We'll run through the event quickly. Then we'll get out of your ear holes and your eye holes. Main event, Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig. Middleweight, 5 rounds. Michael Morales, Jake Matthews, Chase Super, Jordan Levitt, Peyton Talbot, Nick Aguiar, Luana Pinheiro, Amanda Ribas, Johnny Parsons, Euros Medic. That is the main card. Prelims, Jonathan Pierce, Joe Anderson Breedu, Chad and Helliker, Jose Johnson, Cesar Almeida, Christian Leroy Duncan, Mick Parkin, Kyle Machado, and the madmen in our Discord already talk about that fight, which shows you what kind of degenerates we hang around with. Jeka Saraji versus Lucas Alexander, Lucy Pudilova, Eileen Perez, the greatest featherweight in the world, Trey Ogden, Nicholas Mota, Charles Johnson, Rafael Estevam, Ottoman Azatar, Darius Flowers. Did I get it all right? Thoughts on the event?
Is the Flowers fight happening for sure?
Not for sure. I'm going off Wikipedia, so not for sure. You talk, I'll look it up.
I'm pretty sure that one got canceled. Okay. I think that one got canned. But yeah, no, as far as a fight card goes for the Apex, I mean, definitely a letdown after this past weekend's card, but I don't think it sucks as bad as people are making it sound like it does. Because that Jonathan Pierce versus Joe Anderson Brito fight's sick. Ribas versus Luana Pinheiro is a really nice fight. I think people are sleeping on how good Luana Pinheiro is because she's had already a pretty good run in the UFC. She beat Randa Marcos, she beat Sam Hughes and Michelle Watterson, which is a pretty good run. Clearly, a couple of prospects the UFC is excited about in Peyton Talbot, Michael Morales, both of them getting Talbot getting his first shot and Morales getting his big step up. And this, based on what we saw out of Paul Craig in his first fight at middleweight, this could wind up being a much more intriguing headliner than the odds suggest, because the odds are pretty wide on this one, actually.
And you are correct about Darius Flowers. I know people come here for correct Darius Flowers news. And, yeah, so that's the correct take. So that is next Saturday night. In the meantime, Discord is place to be, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Also, YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and check us out there. MMA Gambling Podcast on YouTube. Twitter, SGPN MMA. Gumby Vreeland, Jeff Fox Writer. I'm also Jeff Fox Writer on Instagram. I got a Substack. Get in there, enter the Pick'em contest. Read all my stuff at moneymma.substack.com. Get Gumby, more Gumby in your ears at the Top Turtle MMA Podcast. And all good things in the MMA world is at, not MMA world, sports gambling world, not just MMA. We cover everything at sportsgamblingpodcast.com and sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Help us crush corporate gambling. We're going to be back tomorrow covering Gumby's favorite promotion, right?
Love it.
It's not Samurai Fight House. It's not, what's the other one in China that we like now?
Oh, Happy Elephant.
Yes. It's not that. It is Bellator. So it'll be me, Astro Boy, Jeff Fox. And no, Gumby will be riding shotgun. We'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.